Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of World of Warships. And since you guys do like my top 5 premium ships, cruisers, battleship, or maybe the tech tree ships that I have explained in my couple of earlier videos that I have posted, I have decided to make a top 10 most powerful battleships of all time. I will be explaining that why these battleships, starting from the lower tiers all the way up to the higher tiers, from number 10 to number 1, which does not mean that at number 10 it's going to be the weakest or at number 1 it's going to be the strongest. It's just the list of the ships that I find to be very powerful for their own tiers. So I will be explaining these battleships briefly, not in full detail, that why they were so powerful when they have gotten released and now why they are not even available for purchase. Especially this battleship, which I will be explaining at number 10. Which is a Russian battleship, Nikolai I, a premium battleship at tier 4. Yes, that's right. There was a premium battleship, a Russian battleship that used to be pretty broken when it got released, right? And it has quite a lot of reasons that why it was broken and still is pretty strong, okay? So let's talk about this Russian battleship. Now, as you can see here, something is going to be pretty weird or odd, and that is its superstructure. This is some of the most insane things that I can think of. Like the superstructure is like literally almost nothing compared to maybe even if we talk about tier 4s or tier 5s, they're still going to have some superstructure all the way to tier 10 that have some mighty superstructure. It does not have any superstructure means that the cruisers, we're just never going to get the HE penetration on this battleship except on the bow or stern, which does have like sort of 19mm plating that is vulnerable to be HE pen, but again, you have this insane deck armor, insane side armor, and well protected citadel for its tier. It does have a waterline raised above citadel, I would say, not waterline, above water citadel, but it is extremely powerful because of this armor. As you can see, a lot of armor is just covered with this thick plating, so yeah, no overmatch, no cruiser HE pen, and you do have 12 guns that has 2.0 Sigma. I mean, it's kind of funny to say this. The 2.0 Sigma is extremely powerful at tier 4. We usually think of a very accurate battleship at higher tiers with 2.0 Sigma. Nikolai I with 12 guns having 2.0 Sigma, while its counterpart, which is kind of having the similar, style, basically similar copy-paste armor, Gangut, that tech tree Soviet battleship, Gangut at tier 4, also having similar characteristics but having 1.4 Sigma. So it has a jump of a tech tree battleship from 1.4 Sigma all the way to 2.0 Sigma. That's insane accuracy. The dispersion that you can get, dispersion might be big, but the shell grouping that you can get on Nikolai is pretty absurd, or I would say almost broken at lower tiers, because the cruisers and battleship will take huge damage if you aim a salvo perfectly well. And then there's going to be a lot of overmatch because these are 305mm guns. So the overmatch is also exists because, I mean, these are lower tiers we are talking about. You have decent HP, and compared to the Gangut, which is, again, I will kind of compare it with that Russian battleship, it has one extra repair party, and on top of that, you can always use the legendary captain, Nikolai Kuznetsov, without just spending any elite commander XP whatsoever, and hence even improving the survivability further. And you can easily able to get first blood if there are bots coming around at lower tiers, because yeah, there are bots which you can just farm and just get a huge amount of damage over time at number 10. Anti-defense might not be something, and funny thing is the concealment is actually pretty good. 12.4 concealment is pretty decent at tier 4, although you might argue that it could be better. But I would say the guns, the armor, and the dispersion with 2.0 Sigma means that, yeah, it is really one of the most tankiest battleships and the most sort of accurate battleship at number 10, or I would say at tier 4. At number 9, we have the Italian battleship that is going to be the tier 5 premium Guilio Cesare. I hope I just didn't mispronunciate the name. But, well, at tier 5, it is also one of the most powerful battleships of all time. The reasons? Well, the first reason is going to be the armor. Now, Guilio Cesare is something that I find it extremely powerful. In fact, it is still so powerful that Wargaming has actually nerfed its airstrike only up to 4 km. Well, usually the battleships, if I can show you, having better airstrikes on submarines. If I can show you quickly, as you can see, you have 8 kilometer normal range of the depth charge airstrike. To nerf the Giulio Cesare, in some way, to balance it or sort of having a compensation, they have given it really terrible ASW strikes, only having 4 kilometer range, and that's what makes Giulio Cesare sort of weaker against submarines. But the fact is that the Giulio Cesare is so strong that they have done this in the first place. Now, why the reason? Okay, it has this really insane armor. As you can see here, you have 43mm armor, 130mm side plating, and also having not that big of a superstructure, right? So you can have very good opportunity to just shatter or bounce a lot of HE pen, AP, as well as the cruiser HE pen, because they won't be able to do that. 43mm is not gonna get penetrated. So that's where the Giulio Cesare armor is really good. Its guns are also some of the most amazing guns at this tier. You have 10 320mm guns, decent reload time, but there is something that makes it pretty powerful. Just like the Nikolai I that I've explained, it has 2.0 sigma. 1.9 sigma, slightly, 0.1 less sigma compared to the Nikolai I, which makes the guns pretty insane against broadside cruisers. The shell velocity is extremely good. The penetration is so good. It's sort of a battle cruiser that having also, having the fastest speed at its tier in terms of the maneuverability. You have almost 29 knots of speed, which makes it kind of a battle cruiser. And you have also one of the best concealments at tier 5 at 11.9, making it a very, very solid battleship. In fact, so good that they have decided to nerf the ASW strikes. And they never have buffed it, unlike Musashi and Massachusetts. Okay, so that's why Giulio Cesare is extremely powerful. The torpedo protection is 30%, which is okay. HP pool is on the lower side. A defense is also okay. But again, the maneuverability, the armor, the guns are the star of the show, especially the speed and the guns, because guns are extremely accurate with 1.9 sigma. I mean, usually battleships don't get these sort of sigma values at this tier. So that's why it gets extremely powerful at number 9. And also one more thing, that you can put the Luigi Sansonetti, which is kind of absurd, with 21-point captain, and you can get so much value from the perks that it gets. Slightly, also the the gun feeder that it gets, like 60% main battery shell type switching time. And then you have some other perks that just makes Giulio Cesare even more powerful or broken, which never used to happen when it got released, but here we are with that battleship at number 9. At number 8, I would rate the tier 6 premium battleship Repulse, which you actually can get it for doubloons in the armory, is one of the most strongest battleships that you can get at tier 6. Now this is a battle cruiser just like Giulio Cesare, but having some unique strengths unlike anything at tier 6. Now, first of all, if I talk about the armor, unlike Giulio Cesare and Nikolai, it's not really the best. You have gigantic superstructure. You also have very thin side plating. No, not the side platings, at least from the fore-end deck or also the aft-end deck are pretty, much easily overmatched by a lot of, higher battleship caliber guns. The armor might not be the best, but here comes the best part about the Repulse. It has the best speed at tier 6. If I look at the speed, it has already base speed of 33.3 knots with speed flag, and also you can able to utilize the engine boost, which can get it up to like 36 knots or 35 knots if I'm not wrong, which kind of makes it absurd fastest battleship at tier 6. Not only that you have these characteristics, you also have a spotter plane, you also have 5 heals, which is pretty nice considering it's a battle cruiser. They have actually gotten the Repulse buffed from 4 to 5 heals if I'm not wrong recently, and also have buffed the guns from 26 to 25 seconds, so the reload time is also very impressive with battle cruiser dispersion and 2.0 sigma. And as you can see here, it also have really solid range at 19.8 kilometers. So very, very long range tier 6 premium battleship with spotter plane really makes it extremely powerful at number 8. Now it also can easily use Andrew Cunningham, which can improve the characteristics of the battleship even further. And these 6 guns are absolutely no joke. You can even overmatch 26mm plating with 381mm guns, which means that the battleship cannot even able to angle against these guns. And so that's why Repulse is extremely powerful. The maneuverability, it's okay. At least the speed is really good, but the maneuverability in terms of rudder shift and turning circle might not be the best, but the concealment is still pretty good at 12.6, and hence the reason why this battle cruiser is, in my opinion, one of the best battleship, or maybe the investment that you can do at lower tiers, at tier 6. Without a shadow of doubt, you will absolutely love it because the guns are very, very consistent. The accuracy is good. The HP is decent at 56,000, even though it's not having the best of the torpedo protection. But I would say still overall, you will be having an amazing experience because of the consistency of the guns and the speed to maneuver, and you're able to disengage with this really good concealment at number 8. At number 7, I would rate the tier 7, another, I would say, a rare battleship, the British battleship Nelson, to be one of the strongest that you can have in the game. And the reason why Nelson is really powerful, now the fact is that you can get it from the Santa containers right now, and it got removed many years ago, and it was available for free XP when it got released at that time. And the reason they have removed it, simply because the guns are pretty absurd at this tier. You're literally having these 406mm guns that having insane HE alpha, 6900, and 46% fire chance. If I compare it with, for example, maybe the Bungo, maybe the Bungo at tier 10, for example, it has 457mm guns and having 7200 or 300 HE alpha. Nelson at tier 7 having almost 7000 HE alpha with 46% fire chance. That's kind of insane. The HE armor penetration is also 102mm, which kind of makes it absurd guns at this tier. It also have, if I'm not wrong, very, very accurate guns with 1.9 sigma, like relatively accurate, because usually, again, you don't see this level of sigma values at lower tiers, and Nelson also got that. Your survivability is okay at 60,000, but again, just like some British battle cruisers or battleships out there, at lower tier it has access to specialized repair teams, okay? So you can just have some insane immunity against fires or floods. You can just heal back 100% of that without really any issue. So the cruisers at lower tiers will have no chance whatsoever to burn you down. There is just no way that the cruisers will be able to do anything about you. You can just heal back so much of the fires and so much of the floods if you get. And also the fact that Nelson has some of the most interesting armor scheme. I mean, you can maybe say that the bow is extremely vulnerable and thick at 26mm, overmatched by 380, but then they have decided at that time to give it 32mm armor plating, which you don't see at tier 7, guys, okay? You have 32mm armor plating, like covering like the sides as well as the deck, means that it's gonna be pretty much immune to your overmatched, okay? The battleship, if someone you can bait, shoot at this area, the Nelson will just have some really good immunity against it, because again, there's no superstructure here or something that can just pen, or also the superstructure is behind, and even then if you take a lot of HE pen or maybe some damage, you can able to heal back quite a bit with the specialized repair team. It's a super heal at tier 7 that you usually never going to have on the premium battleships. For example, maybe if you compare it with Rhode Island, which also have similar armor, but it never has super heal. It also, the Collingwood, the similar class, Nelson class battleship, does not have even access to the really good armor that Nelson has. All the 26mm side platings, you can already see that why I would rate Nelson to be extremely powerful. This HE alpha is ridiculous. The AP alpha is also very, very impressive with these 406mm guns. Overmatch is there, the guns are accurate, the fire chance is insane. You have everything for a good guns battleship at number 7 for the Nelson, which I would say highly recommended. And I mean, again, Andrew Cunningham just gonna make it even more absurd at number 7. At number 6, we have the American battleship that is Massachusetts. Now, I'm sure that you might guys know it from the fact that it was, when it got released, one of the very interesting secondary brawler for an American battleship at tier 8. Yeah, it was one of the first concept, if I'm not wrong, that having this very good accurate secondaries, like really good base accurate secondaries, and also come up with the concept of having a very short cooldown time of 40 seconds on heals, okay? which kind of makes it really powerful for a battleship like this armor. This armor is also very good. The armor scheme is good. The healing potential, as you can see, is very fast and quick with spotter plane or the fighter if you want to have. Your range, because of these secondary characteristics that they have given to Massachusetts, it's kind of low. But then you have really good guns. Considering it's a secondary brawler, still going to have the 1.7 sigma that you might not expect at these lower tier battleship for a secondary battleship. Like usually, if I take a look at the Pommern, which is a tier 9 German 12 gun battleship, has 1.5 sigma, for example, or maybe any 12 gun battleship having lower sigma because of the really good secondaries that it can just pump out. And you do have the overmatch, at least against lower tiers at tier 7 and tier 6. And also if you use IFHE, these secondaries actually able to penetrate enough of the tier 7 battleships that you will be getting penetrations for the when you are top tier, okay? You might get like 26mm of pen. 26mm of pen means that the battleship will be just going to get penetration damage, which is so absurd for these secondaries because these are very accurate secondaries. The guns are relatively accurate with 1.7 sigma, just like I said. The torpedo protection is good. It has every single bit of thing that just can brawl at higher tier, or sorry, at I would say mid to higher tiers. It's one of the really strongest battleship that just can have everything when it starts to push with decent HP and everything that it gets. Decent anti-defense. Even though the airstrikes are going to get buffed, they have now managing to make the airstrikes normal with the nerfed bomb damage, but at least it will get up to 10 kilometers, just like usual battleships, so you can actually able to fight even submarines. And hence the Massachusetts gets even more value than ever before because of the buff of airstrikes. And hence the reason why for this really good secondary brawling capabilities and the good firepower with decent accuracy, the Massachusetts is still one of the best battleships that you can ever get at number 6 at tier 8 for a premium. At number 5, I would rate the tier 8 premium battleship, that is Soviet Lenin, to be one of the most powerful battleships that they have released of all time. It is so powerful that I would rate it one of the having the best armor for a battleship in this entire game for its tier. The Lenin is really powerful just because of this monstrosity of the armor that it gets. Like, look at the armor scheme. Just like the Nikolai I, which I have explained at number 10, at tier 4 you have basically little to no superstructure. Even that superstructure is also covered with 60mm armor plating. Your back armor is also kind of having, pretty decent plating. Like, look at this deck, which is 35mm. And so you are remaining with little to no area where the cruisers will be able to penetrate you, and then also the battleship will be able to overmatch you. So you are going to be the insane battleship that can bow tank for days. And I'm really saying it for days because it's actually so much durable against the HE spam and the overmatch, except for the bow, which can be overmatched by Musashi of 460mm guns, but that usually you don't see at tier 8. So that is why the Lenin is extremely powerful, okay? And the reason why it is also powerful, you have solid HP with 63,000. You also have the Soviet close, the better, or I would say the more closer you are, the better the dispersion. This scheme is also available on Lenin, just like the whole Russian Tech Tree battleship line. And the best thing about the Lenin is that it has actually slightly better sigma than its counterpart, which is tier 8 Tech Tree battleship Vladivostok, okay? So again, you have better sigma, which is 1.7 sigma compared to the Vladivostok's 1.6 sigma, which also improves its dispersion. And again, with the sigma buff, with the dispersion that you get better, at least at around 10 or 11 kilometer or even lower, you are going to get some of the most disgusting accurate guns with this insane armor that Lenin is kind of unstoppable in pushing, and it still is really. Like, it has gotten released some years ago, and it's still, I would say, one of the most tankiest battleship of all time at tier 8. No one can be easily able to, tank like Lenin, and Lenin can just a really good tank, then that's just not going to be easily penetrated or die by this HE spam. I mean, to complement this, You also have fast damage control team, just like the whole Soviet Tech Tree battleship line. You also have 4 heals, and you also have the fighter to also have some sort of defense against carriers. So they will also shoot down some fighters wherever it is possible. So it really makes an extremely good package with Nikolai Kuznetsov, which kind of makes it even more absurd. So this battleship, oh my goodness, is so powerful for tier 8 that I would easily rate it at number 5. At number 4, we again going to have pretty much similar characteristics for a battleship like Massachusetts, which is going to be the tier 9 premium Georgia. Now this American battleship is kind of an upgrade over the Massachusetts, and it also having pretty similar parameters, but couple of differences. Now the reason why Georgia is powerful, okay, and hence the reason why it is in the Santa crates as well, just like the Lenin. So why Georgia is good? Well, it has the most insane speed at tier 9. You have almost 39 knots of speed, and I haven't even taken account the brisk that you can utilize to get it up to 42 knots, which is kind of makes one of the fastest battleship at tier 9. It's just too speedy for a battleship that you can even outmaneuver or maybe just even able to win the races if there is a destroyer coming, one-on-one against you in terms of the race. So that's why Georgia is extremely powerful. But the upgrade over Massachusetts with the perspective of guns is also a solid thing that I find Georgia to be extremely powerful. You have 457mm guns, which having the most really powerful AP alpha at tier 9, like 15.7k, is extremely impressive. You find it on Ohio, but it also is available on Georgia with 6 guns layout, and also these are 457mm guns. 30mm overmatch is insanely awesome at lower tier. We're not talking about tier 10, we're talking about tier 9. So the secondaries are kind of having similar parameters like the Massachusetts, so nothing to talk about. The range is also better than Massachusetts, so it's like an upgrade over the Massachusetts, just having insanely better guns. Now it does have one more thing. It has, compared to the Massachusetts, battlecruiser dispersion, and also because again 6 guns layout, it also have the improved sigma from 1.7 from Massachusetts to 1.8 on Georgia. So the guns also are extremely accurate. And don't forget about the tier 9 chips and tier 10 chips able to have access of artillery plotting room mod 2, improving the dispersion of already really good battlecruiser dispersion even further with 1.8 sigma. So the guns becomes disgusting. The guns are extremely accurate, with also, if you can switch to AG, the alpha and the fire change is also very impressive. And also, just like Massachusetts, you have access to spotter plane, but well, just like I said, it has better speed with the speed boost, which is like 15%, and also have the heals fast, just like Massachusetts, with 40 seconds of cooldown time. This is a really perfect package that you can have over Massachusetts at 1 tier higher, which is Georgia. Even though the armor might not be the best, the entire defense is good, but the armor is actually a bit vulnerable. You are going to get Citadel a lot easier if you show broadside, but again, if you are a good player, if you have some skills, the Georgia will feel a lot much more powerful compared to Massachusetts at tier 9 for number 4 list that I am showing you right now. I think it's impossible to miss that battleship, this Japanese, the abomination that you have our Yamato class battleship Musashi at tier 9. I mean, it's literally a Yamato. I mean, it should be in this list, right? It's a guaranteed ship to be in this list for mine. And the reason why, if you want to know, well, first of all, just like Yamato, it has almost everything similar, just like Yamato at tier 10, but at tier 9, and it's also premium, so you earn credits. You also have 460mm guns, just like Yamato. Pretty much similar reload time at 26.4 seconds like Yamato, but only having worse sigma of like from 2.1 to 1.8. That is the shell grouping nerf that they have done to Musashi, but everything else is pretty much same. The accuracy is definitely a bit worse, but still, accuracy is still good enough. I have found Musashi to be pretty much good because of the really good penetration and also this 32mm overmatch. It's kind of disgusting at tier 9, especially at lower tier battleships. They're just going to get obliterated by these really powerful guns that you are getting at tier 9, but these are tier 10s, just like Yamato. Your armor is kind of like Yamato, basically almost having the similar parameters. Very tanky deck armor, very tanky, even this casemate armor of 57mm. So it's going to be very resistant to getting HE pens as well. Small superstructure, but again, side armor might be a bit of a disappointment. But again, just like Yamato class, it's only that at tier 9. And you have like absurd HP with 102k with the flag, with the the Charlie Kilo flag signal that you can put out now. It's just so funny with 55% torpedo protection. I mean, go figure it out. It's gonna be very rough for lower tier battleship to take down Musashi. It's just it's just like putting a tier 10 battleship one tier down, and just having really bad AA defense and ASW strikes. This is sort of the weakness that they have given, that it is going to be poor against carriers and poor against subs. But again, you do have a fighter which can compensate against carriers, and also the airstrikes are going to get buffed to 10 kilometer with nerfed bomb damage. So then you can actually have some usable airstrikes in Musashi, making it even more stronger than ever before. Really powerful battleship. At number 3, a must Yamato class battleship. You can get it from Santa Containers, by the way. So definitely look out for that at number 3. At number 2, we have yet again another American battleship, or I would say battle cruiser. And the fact is that it's also having pretty much similar characteristics in terms of armor like Georgia. So it's definitely very much comparable to that, but having a lot much more different layout in terms of gun turrets. I mean, the Rhode Island at tier 10 having so many things going for it. I mean, it's kind of like a box of gimmicks that they have put for a tier 10 battleship that I would say it's really, really worth it to have it in your port. And it is also, by the way, in the Santa crates. It used to be available for doubloons for some time, and also in the loot boxes like a couple of months ago. But now, yet we are here with just only having the availability from the Santa containers. Now, why the Rhode Island is powerful? Now, you have a radar with 9 kilometer, which means that you can counter destroyers, okay? You have the speed boost and having the maneuverability, I mean, which can actually make you kind of like a battle cruiser, having some sort of speed juke capabilities that you can have at range against battleships if you are trying to farm at long range. The Rhode Island is also going to be extremely powerful against those battleships that are pushing towards you with this insane 12 guns, having 1.7 Sigma with battle cruiser dispersion. So compared to the Georgia 6 guns, Rhode Island has lower caliber, but having 12 guns with 22 seconds of reload time base. Yeah, battle cruiser dispersion, 1.7 Sigma, so it's not too bad of a nerf of a Sigma compared to Georgia, because again, you have an upgrade of 12 guns and of obviously a downside of having 356mm guns, but the upside is that the reload time is impressive. The HE, the HE alpha that you have is 5000 with 31% fire chance. So if you have this really good shell grouping with battlecruiser dispersion, you're going to set a lot of fires. And I'm not joking, every single salvo, every single bit of fire that you can get on Rhode Island. It's like a Thunderer or Conqueror that they have put on a battleship because of the amount of the shells that you able to land on a single target. It's crazy. You also have improved AP characteristics by having ricochet angles, and you have also, just like Georgia, having the engine boost, which you can have the increase up to 39 knots like Georgia. Ruddership is pretty impressive at 12.1 seconds, so it's started to show you guys that how it feels like a battle cruiser, and also have tons of heals. And you can also apply the William Hall save, which is one of the best American battleship unique captains that you can have. So it has everything to deal against everything. And just like Georgia and Massachusetts, you also still going to have some sort of secondaries that have at least able to set fires with 5% fire chance, and these can go up to 11.3 kilometer, just like Georgia and Massachusetts. But you're getting this extra with these really good guns with Rhode Island at tier 10. And just like I said, you have a radar. You can always have a spotting aircraft or fighter. But again, this is insane counter for a battleship that you can. It's so unique that you only get this radar only at like having tier 9 Missouri or maybe on the Bourgogne, the Soviet battleship. So it's very still a rare thing, and Rhode Island gets it with this insane monstrosity of speed and the AP that has improved ricochet angles So you're going to be having very good consistency if you're able to hit on the upper belt with this also insane HE with really good accuracy. Makes Rhode Island one of the very top-notch battleships that you can get. Extremely powerful. It's definitely an obnoxious battleship that you can get, and unfortunately only available in Santa crates at number 2. At number 1, I think I find it a lot difficult to, give a single ship the value that I want to, showcase you, in my video. And I have decided out of all the nominees or contesters that actually are quite a lot. Like, first of all, there is Wisconsin, there is Ohio, there is the Thunderer, and also there is the Bourgogne. So a lot of ships. There is also a Lauria. There are so much powerful battleships out there that it's very difficult to decide, okay? But I would say out of all these battleships, I have to give this to Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin is very close with Ohio and Thunderer, but I still would say it is one of the most obnoxious battleships, the most ridiculous battleships of all time in the game. It also was available like a couple of months ago in a dockyard, but if you have not able to get this ship, well, you are actually quite a bit unlucky because they have given some of the most insane gimmicks that no one has right now in the game. I mean, Wisconsin having the main battery reload time with the F key by minus 50%, which you find on French battleship like Jean Bart and Bourgogne, but you're getting this gimmick in a single F key. Also, you have the gimmick of San Martin line, which is a Pan-American, cruiser line or battleship line. Oh, sorry, the cruiser line, because the cruiser lines of the San Martin having this excess of consumable preparation and reload time of minus 80%, and you are also getting in on Wisconsin. So you have the gimmicks of French and the gimmicks of Pan-American cruisers into a single battleship with the F key. That is insane. I don't know if you don't able to understand this, but this F key is a game changer. I mean, sure, it has only 9 guns. It's an Iowa class battleship, so only 9 guns. It has not the best of the HP at 85,000. In fact, it's actually a bit lower at like 82 or 81,000. But again, you have the F key, which not only makes it kind of like absurd in terms of the healing potential. Like the moment you use the heal, you're going to have almost instant reload of these consumables. Not only the DCP will go up in just like 10 seconds, your heal's gonna be up in like 5 to 10 seconds, your spotter plane can go up quickly, and even the defensive wave fire, because again, all the consumables will just going to get instantly reloaded because of the minus 80% reload time for 20 seconds. And all you have to do is to just land 16 shells consistently, which for a good, for a good player, for a good battleship player, it's not difficult. So hence the reason why Wisconsin is extremely powerful in the defensive and offensive capabilities. And I haven't even talked about the accuracy of the guns. It has the most accurate battleship guns, 406mm guns at tier 10. No one has this amount of insane accuracy that you're gonna be getting in Wisconsin. Reason why? It has battlecruiser dispersion that I just always explained in the Rhode Island. Rhode Island has 1.7 sigma, okay? Dortia has 1.8 sigma with battlecruiser dispersion, okay? But the Wisconsin having 406mm guns with 2.0 sigma. So the huge buff. Now, the Ohio having 2.0 sigma but having battleship, or I would say battleship levels of dispersion. The Wisconsin with this sigma and insane dispersion with the dispersion mod on top of that, which you should never forget that you can get on American battleships, make it some of the most insanely accurate battleship, along with the F key that can improve the reload time of the guns. If you use the F key, which can load particularly quickly if you get so many salvos on a battleship, that it's just extremely powerful in defensive and offensive capabilities. Your Citadel is basically non-existent. Your Citadel is very difficult to hit. It's only going to be possible at long ranges, and at medium and close ranges you will have no chance of Citadeling Wisconsin, which is like another most absurd thing that I can think of for a battleship. Like, it's very, very literally almost impossible to get a Citadel at medium, maybe 10 kilometer, or at close ranges. Extremely difficult. And then you have these gimmicks on top of that. Okay, and you also have pretty decent speed because it's an Iowa class battleship. So now you can see the reason that why I would kind of rate the Wisconsin over the Ohio a bit. Although Ohio and Thunder are not too far away, both are extremely powerful. But hence, I will also explain them in sort of honorable mentions if you want to know. But Wisconsin is, I would say, one of the most powerful dockyard battleships of all time because of these unique gimmicks that no battleship currently has in the game. At number 1. Well, I would have some honorable mentions. I mean, Ohio is so powerful research bureau battleship. It's very difficult to, not able to recommend it like compared to Wisconsin, but it is very close. Ohio and Wisconsin are still very close, neck to neck, but still because of the uniqueness, like complete uniqueness that Wisconsin gets, I would still, rate Ohio just like a tiny bit lower. That's my personal opinion. So I think Ohio definitely deserves to be in the honorable mentions, along with the Thunder, with having one of the most absurd, HE guns at number 1. I would say, at least I would say honorable mentions. These guns having insane alpha with fire chance that is just not even funny, with battlecruiser dispersion at 1.9 sigma. So it's also extremely powerful without a doubt. These guns are disgusting in setting fires. There's no doubt about it. It's like a better Yoshino that you have in a battleship hull. And also Bourgogne, I would also say pretty good. But compared to Wisconsin, Wisconsin just makes it out of the line because it has the gimmicks. The Wisconsin has the gimmicks of the French, which is like a main battery reload booster, and also having pretty decent speed at 37.5 knots with the speed flag and the brisk skill, which kind of makes it also feels Bourgogne a bit worse. Again, better guns. With 406mm guns, 9 of them compared to 12 380mm guns. So there are so many things that still kind of make it short compared to the Wisconsin. And still, I would say honorable mentions. They are extremely good battleships if you want to have really good battleships of all time. And I would say even the Lauria is also a very interesting battleship. Without a doubt, it's also having 457mm guns. I mean, you can already see why I'm talking about these battleships. 457mm guns is just too much good against cruisers that it's very difficult not to recommend. But again, insane accuracy, the benefits goes to Wisconsin. And I would probably end the video because it has gotten too long. I hope you guys are able to understand it. My top 10 most powerful battleships of all time that I have explained. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you find it very good, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will catch you guys into the next one. Peace out.